For the second time in 2 years, the government has announced the demise of the much-maligned school decile system. The Education Minister Chris Hipkins wants to replace the 1 to 10 decile number by 2022 with an index based on risk factors like children's parents' income. Many schools had hoped that would have happened by now because the previous government promised a similar change by this year or next. Here's our education correspondent, John Gerritsen.
The new index will be based on factors such as whether a child's parents are on a benefit, their mother's age when the child was born, and how often the child has changed schools. By contrast, the decile system is based on factors in a child's neighbourhood that might or might not apply to them personally. The Education Minister, Chris Hipkins, says it makes sense to use a system that more accurately predicts whether children are at risk of failure.
We know that deciles are a very blunt way of targeting school funding. We know that we've got better information about how to identify where the most disadvantaged students are, and it seems crazy not to use that better information. So it is going to take us a little while. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think deciles will be a thing of the past within the next few years.
A major criticism of the decile is that it gives schools a number from 1 to 10, depending on what percentage of their enrolments come from the most deprived neighbourhoods. Those numbers are often misunderstood as an indicator of school quality, and Chris Hipkins says the new system will still use numbers to indicate the scale of need at each school, but it will be a lot harder to use them as a way of judging schools.
Most likely is that schools will get a score each year, and it'll be each year, and that'll determine how much operating funding they get, and that score might be anything between 1 to 200, and it will change regularly, so you won't get that long-lasting stigmatisation that comes from a decile ranking that sticks around for 5 years.
Principal Tom Webb from Decile 1 Mangere College says getting rid of decile numbers will be a big improvement.
A lot of people feel that a decile number gives an indication of the quality of the education you receive in a school, which is clearly not the case. It's about the socioeconomic background of the students. So removing that label from schools, I think, will be a really big advantage, and particularly for low decile schools that have had that stigma placed on them in the past.
The Education Ministry currently distributes $150 million a year based on school decile ratings, and the government is promising to increase that amount when it introduces the new system. Tom Webb says that will make a big difference.
That's really important, and it's just to benefit students who are in those low socioeconomic areas, communities like our own, and to provide them with the sort of resources that other schools are able to achieve.
Whetu Cormac from the Principals Federation says it's critical the new system is accurate and confidential.
Well, the challenge will be, will those young people who have the risk, will they be able to be identified? We know that children across the socioeconomic spectrum are in every decile school at the moment, and we would hope that we'll be able to trust the information, the data gathering that they have, which will in turn equate to funding.
The government's reassuring schools. It says there will be strict measures to protect children's privacy. In the meantime, Whetu Cormac says most principals are looking forward to dumping the decile and moving to a new system. Mo te hōtaka o te ahiahi, ko John Gerritsen tēnei.